Behind me is the building that once belonged to the J.C. Penney Company. Now it's home to the Jackson Symphony Orchestra, an organization comprised of instrumentalists and performers from all over Jackson and neighboring counties. A lot has changed since its construction in the 1940s. The glass block windows of the upper floors have been replaced with glass panes, and the window shopping displays have been replaced with an updated facade, though the outlines of where the windows were are still visible. The window displays are now the lobby and box office. The mezzanine, which initially sold fabrics, patterns, sewing notions, and needlework, has been converted into office space and is hidden behind a red curtain so the workers don't distract those practicing below. The narrow stairway at the front of the building has been blocked off by a ceiling addition, as the second floor, which once housed the women's, infants, and furniture departments, and the third floor, which was J.C. Penney's Toyland, are also used as office space. This stairway is now used for accessing the administrative offices and the new balcony for viewing performances. The basement, which once sold home furnishings such as curtains, draperies, shades, blankets, and bedding, has been converted into multiple practice and rehearsal rooms. Not everything in the building has changed, though. The first floor and basement retain their original decorative ceilings, with the basement also featuring several original fireproof doors. The door to the boiler room is a notable point of interest, as it contains a certificate of boiler inspection from 1978. This piece of paper serves as a testament to the historical importance of the building. The large metal door also features the signatures of those who once frequented the room, some dating back to the early 1950s. What dates back further, however, is the history of the land the building sits on. How did Jackson, Michigan come to get a J.C. Penney anyway? To answer this question thoroughly, one must research as far back as the year 1871, when a new courthouse was erected on the south side of present-day Michigan Avenue. This new courthouse was the largest government facility in the region, and replaced the former courthouse after its land was bought by local businessmen for commercial use. The courthouse stood 4 stories tall and featured a 25-foot-tall tower at the top. At one point, it was recorded to be the heaviest building for its size in all of Michigan. The building would stand for nearly 70 years, through the city's implementation of the interurban railway system to its eventual removal, the declining use of horse and buggy to the introduction of automobiles, the transition from brick roads to paved roads, the heightening city skyline, and Jackson's development into a massive retail and shopping center. Moving forward to 1927, the Elks fraternity in Jackson began construction of a 5-story temple to accommodate their increase in members and outgrowing of their old facilities. At the same time, the city of Jackson was outgrowing its old courthouse and would soon need a building to suit the community's needs. In 1933, due to complications from the Great Depression, the Elks were forced to vacate their new building, which contained a bowling alley, swimming pool, billiard hall, and auditorium, and moved into a much smaller facility. The imposing building sat vacant for several years until it was purchased by the county in 1935 for use as a new courthouse. This was incredibly beneficial, as the county would not have been able to build their own courthouse due to the economic depression. The old courthouse was vacated in 1937 when the county offices finished moving, and the historic building was put up for sale. On July 6, 1939, it was announced through the newspaper that an offer was made for the old courthouse, and a few days later, the courthouse was sold for $50,000 to an unidentified purchaser. It was eventually revealed that the land was purchased by the J.C. Penney Company with intention to demolish the old building and construct a new modern department store on the site. Razing of the historic building began next month, and one of the few remaining buildings in Jackson from the horse and buggy era was soon gone. The J.C. Penney store began construction in October 1939, with the cement foundation being poured. The first steel for the building arrived in mid-December, and within a month the building was 60% complete. In March of 1940, T.L. Allen, the new manager of the J.C. Penney store, moved to Jackson from managing another Penney store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. By April 1940, the facilities were complete, and the grand opening was held April 25th. The newspaper advertised the building's blonde maple finish and blue carpeting on the second floor, as well as the thousands of dollars worth of new merchandise displayed inside. Nothing had been spared that would add to the attractiveness of this efficiently appointed store. Jackson, Michigan was now home to the 50th J.C. Penney in Michigan. Wendy Treacher, former Northwest High School and Middle School choral director, and current director of the Jackson, Michigan Chorale and First Presbyterian Church Choir, has fond memories of shopping at the J.C. Penney as a child.
Well, we moved to Jackson in 1953, and we lived about 8 blocks out from the downtown. And my mother and I used to walk to the downtown, and then we'd walk down to J.C. Penney's. I think the first time I remember was when my brother had been born, and we walked downtown to buy some baby clothes for him. So probably when I was about 6 or 7. In 1964, when I was going to high school, my mother took me downtown to J.C. Penney's to buy my school clothes to go to Jackson High. She told my dad that I had to go down and get some clothes to go to high school with. We went down to J.C. Penney's, and she bought me 3 sweaters and 3 skirts. And we went home, and my dad had a fit. He thought I didn't need that much. That was just way too much. So he made me choose one outfit to take back. And I was so upset, and I was crying, and So finally I chose the one that went back. And then my mother, unbeknownst to my father, went back and bought it again for me. So, one of those things.
Fast forward to the 1960s, and shopping malls have become America's biggest money-making trend. More and more cities across the country had developed shopping malls, including Jackson, who in 1961 introduced the community to Paca Plaza, now known as the Jackson Crossing. The plaza was located right outside the city limits, and downtown was losing hundreds of customers. The solution to this problem, or so the city planners thought, would be to create a walking mall on Michigan Avenue in order to bring more customers to the downtown area. The result was dubbed Progress Place. In 1964, a new stretch of cement and landscaping covered the majority of Michigan Avenue. The idea was for customers to park their cars down a block or two and walk to their favorite stores. There was no other option, as the road had been paved over and replaced with enlarged sidewalks. This proved fatal to Jackson's retail industry, as shoppers preferred the Paca Plaza, where one could park right in front of the store which they wanted to shop at. Downtown business was dwindling, and more businesses were leaving for the malls. Even after one-way roads were added onto Progress Place, it wasn't enough to entice the community back downtown. In 1972, the Westwood Mall was built, and J.C. Penney, in need of more space and more shoppers, would close its downtown store and move into a much more accommodating environment in 1981. They moved from a 20,000 square foot space to a 95,000 square foot space. Progress Place would be demolished entirely by 1983, a multi-year process which cost about $800,000, a major leap compared to its construction cost of $70,000. In 1983, Comerica Bank next door, once occupied by the National Bank of Jackson, purchased the vacant J.C. Penney building for the use of non-customer operations and storage. In 1994, Comerica would begin leasing 11,000 square feet of the building to the Jackson Symphony Orchestra for rehearsal, practice, and office space. The lease agreement continued until 2007, when Comerica Bank generously donated the building to the JSO. The Jackson Symphony Orchestra continues to occupy the building to this day, and is also home to the Jackson Youth Symphony Orchestra and the JSO Community Music School, which provides community members the opportunity to receive passionate instruction from distinguished music faculty. Brian Mangiavellano, director of the Northwest High School Bands, is the new director of the Youth Symphony Orchestra, and has seen the building transform over the years.
About 15 or so years ago, it was an interesting space. It was dark and pretty industrial looking. It's a cool space for a group to rehearse, I thought, and I thought the office space was nice too. I think they've done a good job of redoing that main room, whereas before I thought it was kind of dark, and I don't know if that'd be a great spot to rehearse in. Now it's just such a lovely room and warm and welcoming. I like it.